All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to another client success interview. Today we're going to be talking to my client Melissa, who just had a 12K week as a relationship coach. And one of the reasons why I do these lives is just to inspire you to really understand what's possible for you once you step into your full leadership within your business. So we're obviously going to be talking about my programs and kind of how that has helped Melissa get to this point and all of the specifics of that. But most importantly, I just feel like these are so helpful to really just allow people to see what's possible for them. So, Melissa, first off, thank you so much for being here. It's so nice to be able to do this. I know that we did this once before, but it's nice to kind of have you come back in. Especially since, you've really only been in the mastermind. You've only been doing the mastermind about a month, and you've already been getting such great results. So I wanted to kind of highlight that and just go through this process. Yeah. So one of the first questions I always have is where were you, do you feel like, when we first started working together? So what was going on in your head, and where do you feel like you were the most stuck?
So when we first started, I was working a full-time job, and I had a lot of what I didn't know at the time was old ways of doing things, or had a lot of different types of strategies that I had learned over the years. Like I had to build all this content, that I needed something to go viral, that I just hadn't posted the right things yet, that my email list, I needed to focus there, and then I needed to do email funnels. And over the years, I went down all these different paths, all while trying to work a full-time job. And my full-time job was multiple six figures. So it was also a huge number to even think about replacing. So it always had my attention. And I'm such a creative, and I'm always in my head. As you help me know, I'm an INFP, if you guys don't know. So it's always thinking, always overthinking. And so I was overthinking in all these wrong areas. Also, when we started, I had about 4 people on my team that were very expensive and doing things that weren't generating revenue, which I didn't think. I thought I needed a virtual assistant. I thought I needed an expensive person for my podcast. And so I just had and website. I would get caught up in gotta have this website done, gotta have all these things that weren't bringing in clients. And it was really hard for me to shift my mindset from that. So as you know. So
yeah. And that's one thing that I loved the most was I remember you were really hesitant to work together, because you were just well, I've worked in programs before and I'm kind of in this place. I don't like being in this place. I know that I need to figure something else out. But at the same time, you were just I don't want the same stuff. Right?
Yes.
Do you want to explain what was one of the biggest differences between what you had taken before and kind of what we worked on together, and why it was kind of one of the missing pieces for you?
Yeah, just everything you were saying in our discovery call was different than everything I had heard. And I was at a point where I was I have to do something different, because what I've been doing hasn't worked. And I was stuck in that. But if I just did more of those things, maybe it would work. And at the same time, it was oh my gosh, this is so much money to invest in Sarah. But then I thought, what am I going to do if I don't do this? That was the biggest thing too. If I don't do this, then where am I going? And I was getting married. So I was planning a wedding. I was working full time. It was the busiest time ever. But at the same time, it was what am I going to do? Let another 6 months go by and still not have a plan? Because it would just bother me and bother me and bother me. And everything you were saying was wow, this sounds so different. This sounds so refreshing. This sounds like exactly what's going to work. And it just became a point where I can't not do this. If I don't do this, then I'm going to regret it. I just knew. So I went into debt to work with you, but it was not for very long. But it was I had to just be yeah, okay, you know what? This is, and I even talked to just my fiance at the time. Thank God he's so supportive and trusts me. But I was look, this is what I need. He was this sounds like what you need. Because I just there's all these people selling systems of things, but they don't know how to guide you through it the way you did. It was like, you could see my business, you could see what I needed, and just something as simple as, yeah, you need to let go of your assistant. It was like, what? Yeah, she's way too expensive. You were like, she's doing way too big of jobs for you, that it's just too high of a price for what you need. And just that one thing was like, wow, that alone was costing me $1,200 a month. So yeah, it was just a lot of expense that I didn't, like, you helped me cut a lot of cost by making the investment. And then eventually, it paid off quickly.
Yeah. And what I really love about that too was one of the first things that we focused on was like, okay, let's take a look at your team. Let's take a look at who's on your team list. Take a look at what they're doing. And then when we saw what you were paying them for what they were doing, I was like, this makes no sense. And I think that a lot of people get really stuck in that, because a lot of us think like, okay, we need team, we need a social media manager. And then like we immediately just kind of go look to Instagram to a social media manager. And what we don't understand is that, especially when we already have the foundations down in our business, operations costs can like make or break a lot of what you're taking home, right? Mm-hmm. And so once we kind of filtered down that team, and then we also increased your rates, right? Because at the time I can't remember how much you were charging for your one-to-one. I think it was like $700 or something. Like it was something crazy low. And we brought that up to $3,000. I think like within a few weeks you were like, okay, I got my first $3,000 client. Like this is working. And then things just kind of went up from there. And I feel like recently when you joined the mastermind, it was just like, oh my goodness, things clicked a little bit further. Let's talk about that. So last week you tallied everything up, and hey, Louisa, you tallied everything up. And I think that you said like on Sunday, you just celebrated $12,000 in sales for the week.
Yes.
How did that feel?
It feels like such relief and so calming, because when you finally figure out a system where I really see this working, I see it working consistently. In fact, we did a Facebook ad that's working so well that I know, well, if I want to dial it up, all I have to do is add a little bit more to that ad, but it's coming in, even at a low cost. Can I say how much? Like $20 a day is bringing in like $12,000 in a week. So I'm like, okay, it shifted my mindset from not just like, can I get a client, but now I'm talking to you like, how many can I handle? What is fully booked? Like, what's the max? And I just got chills just now, because it's like, finally, I feel like, I can actually do the work I love and not be so focused on the money part, because you need the money. God, I feel myself getting emotional. I wasn't expecting that, but it's just like, I've been so frustrated for so long. And it's like, oh my God, I can like do the fun stuff and I can do the creative stuff, because I don't have to worry like, oh my God, where's my next customer coming from? Because I know what I have to offer I've had so many transformations with my girls, and it's like, this release of like, oh my God, this is going to work. And it's going to way outdo the full-time job I had in banking, which made me want to die every day. I was like, I don't even care about any of these emails. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care what this customer, I just got to a point where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't care that it's multiple six figures. I still like, if I had an offer for the same job that paid like $400,000, I would be like, ugh, that means I would get like a corporate laptop delivered to my door, and then I'd have to like do things like, I don't want to do it anymore. Like, I want to do this. And so it just made me feel like finally something freaking works, and it doesn't have to be just sitting there making content, because I love making content, but I got to a point where it was like, I didn't even want to do my own content anymore, because it just felt like, why? What's the point? It's just for 10 likes, it just was like, my work isn't appreciated in that way. And you're talking to the same people over and over again. You're talking to your friends and family, and then your aunt, whoever makes a comment, and you're like, oh, this is not what I'm here to do, So yeah, just the relief and the excitement, and now it's like, it feels like so much more, I know it can scale. I literally can see it's going to happen. It is happening. And now I'm planning things that I've always wanted to plan for my clients, that I felt like were way in the future. Like now I'm like, oh, what if I bring people here? I can do this, I can do that, I can add this to a package, and I can create a whole different experience for a client because now I'm not thinking so much about just revenue generation. And because we're creatives, we don't really want to focus a lot of time on this, but you have to, it's part of it, but you really want to be able to focus on helping your clients and their transformation. That's where I really want my energy to be spent. And you've helped me create a system and also I have the confidence that if anything goes wrong, you're going to know what to do. So it's like, I know I can just be like, whatever happens, I can just ask Sarah. So I have the mastermind. It doesn't feel like we're just out here flailing around, because I think we can get really lost, or you can have a bad week, or you can have a bad sales call. You can have those moments where you just lose belief in yourself. And you're like, what is wrong with me today? But if you don't have a support system and you're doing it alone, that's probably the one thing looking back, like, why did I ever think I could do this alone? I tell my clients they can't do it alone because they need a coach, right? So if all these are coaches, we need coaches just like our clients do. So if we don't invest in ourselves, then how could we convince them to do it? So I share, I'm like, look, I invested in my coach. I know what it feels like to be like, oh God, this is going to be worth it. But I just can't sing your praises enough because I've spent $5,000 on someone who I love. I still adore to this day. I wouldn't even say her name. Like, I smile thinking of her, but it was not worth $5,000. It was fun. It was nice. But at the end, it was like, I had no idea how to make money or put a system together. And so, yeah, this isn't my first mastermind. It's not my first investment. I've done a lot of investing, and I think all of it is fine. It all works to the goal, but working with you is like, okay, now we're really going to get serious. These are going to be actual systems that work.
Yeah. And thank you so much for saying all of that too. I know one of the things that I see, especially with people who come to me or people who are thinking about working with me, is this whole idea that like their content is going to do everything for them. And I know that you were there too, right? Where it's just like people are telling you, just put out a whole bunch of content. One day, one of the pieces of content is going to go viral or whatever. And then what ends up happening is you have all this content, you get so exhausted with content. And it's like you said, you get like your 10 likes, right? You might get one thing going viral, but even going viral in the online space isn't actually that good, right? Because if you're not going viral with the right people, you can actually mess up like a lot of your algorithm. And once you stop only focusing on content and you really start shifting into, okay, what are the conversions going to be looking like? What is my overall message? What is going to be going on behind the content? How am I going to grow my community beyond content? I mean, it's such like a big relief, right? Like when we stopped getting you on just focusing on content. And I remember too, like the day that we put up your Facebook ads, you were like, I want to focus on content again, Sarah. You came to your call and you were just like, let's do more content. And I'm like, Melissa, we're going to set up your ad today.
Yeah.
Like we're just going to do this.
And I thought it was just like, this ad is not going to do anything. It's just like, whatever. It's just that we're doing it. But then all of a sudden these DMs started coming and I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. This is happening. Also, I wanted to say something too about content because although I could create great content, it was the wrong content. It was content that was teaching. And the shift that it made for me was I can teach because I would think, well, there's one coach that said, give away all of your stuff, give it all away because your clients, your prospects won't remember any of it anyway. Sorry, New York City sirens in the background here. And so I would think, yes, I need to just teach and give and give and give. But now I realize that's too much. It's like feeding a baby too much food. Like there's only, it's actually doing them a disservice. And this is the major shift I had to make is that, yes, you can create content, but is it the content that someone who needs your help, is that what they're prepared to hear right now? And I was giving them way too advanced of things. Yeah. And I needed to really understand, yes, create content, but create content that's going to help them and at where they are, because I was giving content way beyond their level or just too much to take in, thinking and thinking it wasn't enough. And so you've really helped me shift to where I've slowed down, like hardly posting at all. It's like, you cannot post. I mean, you have to have content up there. Like you have to show that you've been viable, but I am not focused on posting at all. And I'm signing clients, which it's like, you hear people doing this and you're like, yeah, I don't believe that you can do that. But now that I understand how it works, like, yes, you can make no posts in a week and sign $12,000 because I just did it, because it's like it. And it's so I just hate how long it took me. So I hope anyone listening, like, do not be me. Do not take forever to decide. Do not wait. Like, I think you have to be at that point where you're like, okay, enough is enough. I've been in this place for too long. I've procrastinated enough. Now is it time to just pull the trigger and make the investment? And then once you're on the other side, you're like, oh, thank God. Just seeing all your content, your pre-recorded content, is worth it in and of itself. But
yeah, well,
it's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. And so for anyone listening to this, if you want to work together, I do have some spots opening up both in my mastermind and in my signature program. And both of those Melissa has been in. And that's kind of all the content and the modules that she's been talking about. So we're going to leave a link to book a call in the comments below. If anyone has any other questions for Melissa, don't hesitate to ask them. I feel like she's been super, super helpful. The one question that I always love asking, and we can kind of just end on this one as well, is, if you were to fill in the blank. So if someone were to ask you, like, if you were to work with Sarah, you would know that, like, what would you say in terms of like, how is this different?
Okay. If you were to work with Sarah, you would know that you don't have to worry. You can do this with complete faith that you're in good hands, that she knows what she's doing. That she's going to really look at your business and what you need. I don't feel like although there are other people, I feel like she's in tune with what I'm doing and specifically what's going to work for me. That you're going to see results. If you put in the work, you're going to see results, and just do what she says, because I spent time not doing what you said and it did not work out well. Like I'm at the point, like, you know what? And I even tell my husband, if he tells me something, I'm like, I can't listen to you because this is not what Sarah tells me. So get on a call with her and then see if you think this. Because he's like, okay, I guess I'm just kind of basing it off of, what I know, like also stuff you've said previously, but kind of like didn't put it together. I'm like, I can't listen to you. I have to just do what Sarah tells me, because it's just like, we have what we're good at, and and you are good at what I'm not good at. And so just being able to just completely blindly trust you is, who has that with many coaches? It's very rare. And so, yeah, if you feel like it's a personality fit, I'm just excited for anyone that works with you, because it's like, it all makes sense. You're like, oh man, it's like all these people selling all these things. And yes, I'm sure they're valuable, but I think a lot of the stuff we see out there, it's for us at different points in our journey. And that's what you helped me see. Like, yes, Melissa, I know you want to do this webinar thing, but that's not where you are. And it's like, okay, thank God, because I don't really want to do it anyway, but I feel like maybe I should be doing it. And that bothers me. So if it helps, you've helped me see where I am and what I need to do right now. And then and this is when you worry about that. And that's so helpful, because I can get distracted by those things, thinking, oh, now I'm going to be over here doing this, or now I need to hire this person to do that. And then you lose your focus, and it can be so much more simple. And that's what it felt like. A $12,000 week. It was really simple. And I did show up and do the sales calls. I don't want to say it was easy, but it kind of was. Like, I've been doing this for so long that the right people show up, you get on the call. They weren't hesitating. I didn't have to hard sell anybody. It's like, when you're aligned, they buy, it works, and then you just go on to the next. And so, yeah, just having that simplicity and peace of mind to know it works is so huge. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Amazing. Yeah, you're so welcome. And I love everything that you were saying. I know that especially for me, it just helps so much when you have a coach who understands the level that you're at. And I've experienced those things too, right? I've experienced the things where I've been at multiple six figures. And I've made the mistake of investing with people who didn't understand the level that I was trying to get
Mm-hmm.
to. And if someone hasn't been there themselves or helped a client get there, it's really hard for them to understand the level that you're at. And I totally agree with you. Once you have that coach, once you have that mentor who's just like, okay, this is not for your level. I think a lot of people can understand what's for a beginner level, but not a whole lot of people can understand what's for an advanced level as well. And I mean, like, we're going to bring Z on here in a little bit. She just celebrated. We're still trying to calculate how much she made in the first month of the mastermind, but it's around $30,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, once you get the right system and the right support, kind of anything is possible, right? And you just celebrated $12,000 in a week. So what we've been talking about now is, okay, well, how are we going to scale with your group program? How many clients can you take on at a time? And I'm just like, we're going to get on another one of these in like 12 months from now. And it's going to be like, wow, it's going to be amazing. And I'm so excited for you.
And just to end on, it is really awesome to have, like, when you start having these kinds of weeks, not many people that you know are going to be super pumped for you that you're making way more money than they are. And so you need friends that are making lots of money that are helping people. Like, this isn't about the money. It's like, yes, it's great, but you can do so much more with the money. But it is also really cool to have the freedom. And now I'm like, okay, now I'm going to hire the cleaning lady. I'm going to hire the personal trainer. Now I'm taking those risks because I need to even invest more. Now I'm like, invest more in yourself so that you can take care of everything else in a better way. But it's just if people join the mastermind or the rapid expansion, either one, you have a group of people that you can celebrate with and that are happy for you and also that are doing more than you. Like, look, Z is doing 2-3 times what I'm doing, which is so exciting because I can celebrate with her, she can celebrate with me, and then you're trading, secrets and ideas, and it's just very, very heartwarming. And you need your peers, you need that collaboration, you need those people that are on the same page as you, so you're not feeling like, oh God, who am I going to talk about my $12,000 week with? Like, it's hard to talk to your friends that don't get it or that aren't making that much, that don't even have a job that could do that. So you need like-minded people to collaborate.
That's so beautiful. And I remember even for myself, like, when I first stepped into a mastermind, I was like, finally, people who get it, right? Like, finally, people who are as crazy as I am, who have like who have the drive that I do. And it just, that's the value. I always used to think that there was so much more value in one-to-one programs. And after taking group and mastermind, that like, where people actually care about you, right? Where people actually care about your results, where people actually customize strategy for you, it's just like, I'm never doing a one-to-one program with a coach again. Like, masterminds and just having that solid group is just where it's at. And now I can say that over and over and over again. So thank you for saying that as well, because I feel like that's just so helpful for people. I know a lot of people are always just like, but I've been in group programs before. But it's like, no, if you're in a small group where you have customized strategy for you and you have one-to-one support, it's not the same as like the 100-person group where like you don't even have time to like ask a question.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think there are groups where the coach doesn't coach too. So you're on a team, but then you're the coach that steps up and you know how to work with a group really well. I was thinking like, wow, I really do get my questions answered in a group. It's teaching me how I can effectively work my groups too, because if you can show up and get your questions answered and feel like, is usually in a week, you only need a couple of things clarified to move forward. It's not like you need to spend hours talking about it. And so that's really been helpful to see. So yeah, I mean, your group has that unique thing where all of us in your group want to achieve the results you're getting, and you're just those steps ahead leading the way. And it's just like, paint by numbers. You're like, this is what you do, this is how you do it, and then just plug in the system and it works. So it's amazing. Yeah. I mean, who knew it could be this easy? I mean, like, who knew it could be this simple? I mean, of course there's work, but working smart and not so hard in the wrong areas. I mean, I'm so annoyed with my past self. It's like,
well, it's okay. We're here now.
Yes.
We're here now, and it's only going up from here. All right, guys, if you want to hear more, if like you want results like Melissa is a relationship coach. She just had a 12K week inside of the mastermind. I'm opening up some time this week for calls. So you can head over to that link, schedule a call, or you can even send me a DM and like ask any questions that you have as well. So thank you so much for being here, Melissa. Like I said, I can't wait to have another one of these where we're just like scaling the shit out of everything again. But yeah.
It's going to happen fast. So if anyone wants to talk to me individually, I'm happy to. So you can also DM me anytime. So yeah, we're happy to answer any questions for anyone.
Great. All right. Thank you so much, Melissa. Bye, everyone.
Bye.